Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Thursday night from the Superbook Sports Studios. Happy Thursday Night Football. For those of you who celebrate, we will have some time this weekend to kind of wait around and see what happens throughout the course of week 2 before the Tennessee Titans play in the first of a Monday Night Football doubleheader, their game at Buffalo. I'm leaving tomorrow to go to Detroit, and then from Detroit, I'm going to Buffalo, and I'm going to be I guess I'm not going to be in Nashville for about 4 days, but I'll be there to cover that game for you. And we'll do prime time from Buffalo on Sunday night. We are going to talk about the thing that poses the toughest test to them. Some injury news coming out of Buffalo today, an injury report for the Titans that I think bears mentioning just briefly. We'll also talk about who you got, because this will take us through halftime of Thursday Night Football between the Chargers and the Chiefs, for those of you who are watching on Amazon Prime. And if you're, of an age where you don't know where the Amazon Prime button is on your remote, this is the week for you to find out, because that is, I'm sure, a learning process for a lot of people. We'll do a weekend bounce back because it's our last show of the week, of the primetime week. Anyway, before we go cover this game on Monday night, but before we do any of these things, before we get to the content, before you hear from a couple of different parties, before you hear from Big Jeff, you will need to share the show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. If you're on Twitter, please retweet the show in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you're on YouTube, like Steven Crozio or A to Z Mick, or AZ Mick, maybe not A2Z Mick, but AZ Mick, you can like this video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you get in on the action there so you don't miss any of our live stream content. Facebook Live, you can share now to public. That's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. That's how it goes to make sure that your Facebook friends get involved. Danny Whitson says, Buck, I'm being honest, I want your job. Were it not for the fact hunting season makes matches football season? Matches football season. I would try insanely harder. Well, it's good to know, Danny, that the one thing keeping you from taking my job is hunting season. So I'm grateful to the ducks and the deer and whomever else you're shooting things at that need to fall in the line of duty for me to be able to keep my job. Easy for me to say, but maybe if you can get a sentence out better than I just did, Danny, you can have it. Once you've shared the show, more of you guys will show up as we get off and rolling. So let's go ahead and get this thing started on a Thursday. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Superbook Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by our friends at Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford, that's the place that you go for the best car buying experience humanly possible. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet, or online at tworiversford.com. Superbook Sports, where you go to get in on all the action that football season provides. They'll match your first bet up to $1,000, whether it wins or loses, at superbook.com. The Intel Edge is what you can get at the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, your dream address without the stress, or sell your home for more. With the Gary Ashton team, GaryAshton.com is where you go. And TrueMav Fitness, they're helping me hit my goals. They will do the same for you with a new way to work out. An incredibly efficient and effective fitness routine that I'm excited to start up, that I have been excited to start up, and that I know you will be too. Find out more information at truemavfitness.com. So, looking at the Titans and the Bills, what has the analysis been all week? Well, the Titans lost to the Giants, so of course they'll go to Buffalo and they'll beat the Bills, because that's what they do. That's who they are. That's how they trend. They lose the games they shouldn't lose. They win the games that they should win. These are all things that we've discussed. And as I watch the Chargers and the Chiefs on Thursday Night Football, by the way, currently 10-7 in favor of LA, just under 3 minutes to play, almost to the 2-minute warning, and a third down coming up for the Chargers at this point. We'll see how this thing plays out. Looking forward to a good game throughout the rest of the night. But I think when you kind of evaluate what the Titans' biggest test in, you have to look at it in a variety of different ways. Now, it is important to note that the injury report, the first one of the week, came out, and it is kind of concerning. Christian Fulton, Dontrell Hilliard, and Kyle Phillips all did not practice today. Kyle Phillips hurt his shoulder on the, what was it, like a 30-plus yard catch that he made to set up the field goal that Randy missed. Dontrell Hilliard is on here with a hamstring, which is not ideal. And Mike Vrabel said in the 2-minute drive, the final drive for the Titans, he was unavailable. So it's unclear whether the hamstring was the issue at the time or not. And Christian Fulton, of course, is your top cover corner, even if he gave up even if there was a blown coverage that allowed Sterling Shepard to score a 65-yard touchdown last week. Not great. Also limited were Ola Adaney, Ben Jones, Jamarco Jones, Taylor Lewan, Dylan Radens, and Lonnie Johnson was back in full effect at practice. Now, it is noteworthy that Ed Oliver, who hasn't been an overwhelmingly good player for Buffalo, but does play in a good front, and they can roll those guys pretty deep off the line. I think that that is something that you need to keep in mind as we move forward into this week. And of course, they don't have Tre'Davious White right now. Ben Hall says, any indication to the seriousness of Phillips' injury? Didn't he have media availability today? Yeah, but the way that they do it, so they don't have to talk about injuries after practice, is they have the guys speak before practice. So when you walk into the locker room before practice, you don't know that Kyle Phillips isn't practicing that day. And then you get the injury report after practice wraps up 3 hours later, and you're like, oh, Kyle Phillips didn't practice today. Wish I would have known that. I would have asked him about it. Now, I am having Kyle Phillips on the radio show tomorrow at 11:15. So I'll be sure to ask him about the shoulder, among other things, and we'll see how ready he is going to be for Monday night in Buffalo. But in the meantime, injuries are gonna start to pop up, and you can get bent out of shape because the hamstring bug has returned in the interim. But I think when you look at what scares you most about the Bills, it's got to start with Josh Allen first and foremost. And I think what the challenge for them is going to be is how they continue to not just maintain or hold down, for a lack of a better term. You're not going to stop Josh Allen. You're going to try to contain him, though. And I think that is going to be something that we discuss at length. So what scares you most about the Buffalo Bills? Offense, defense, special teams, whatever you like. Let me know on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Twitch. We'll talk about it together right after I tell you about the people who make the take possible, the Two Rivers Ford take, to be exact. Two Rivers Ford is the best. Not only are they incredibly involved in the local community, I was just with Matthew Barker, who runs Two Rivers Ford with his father, John, at the Real Men Wear Pink event to support cancer research, the American Cancer Society. So that was a good event that Two Rivers Ford is always a part of. They will also be a part of the best car buying experience that you have ever had. They are making guarantees at Two Rivers Ford, which is not something that you find in business very often, especially today. Right now, when you pre-order a 2023 model year Ford, that's an Explorer, a Bronco Sport, an Edge, a Mustang, any of their 2023 models, they will guarantee you a 2.9% interest rate, APR, with as long as you qualify as a buyer. That is the kind of guarantee, that is the kind of peace of mind that Two Rivers Ford is going to offer you, so you can pre-order your car. And whenever it comes about, 60 months, or rather 60 days is 60 months is an awfully long time. That was a terrible misstep by me. 60 days is what they're going to give you before that interest rate goes into effect. So you can order your car, you can have a locked-in interest rate, and you can start making payments whenever your car arrives. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet, or online at tworiversford.com. So the toughest test for the Titans against the Bills. What are you going to look at and say, all right, this is the thing that's going to throw them the biggest curveball? Speaking of curveball, Tom Moore says Von Miller's haircut. All right. So I am not somebody who criticizes people who think fashion forward, although I do find this, what I thought of when I saw the back of Von Miller's head, because I can't really show you the back of my head and still do the show because the microphone would be facing the wrong way, or rather I would be facing away from the microphone. But like, he has this triangle, this upside down triangle on the back of his skull, like right about where his, right about where your hair starts to kind of, get a little scraggly around the neck. Like, he's got this very defined triangle in the back of his head. And I kept looking at it, and I think it's like the memes where you see somebody's got a big collar and like they just keep enlarging the collar in every next picture. Like that's what it felt I was looking at, but like it was an optical illusion on the back of Von Miller's head. But all I could have in my mind is those little triangle games with the pins that you play at Cracker Barrel. And that's all I could think of. I wonder if his teammates have made the same joke. So, maybe it's going to be in a couple of years and Von Miller is on the forefront of fashion, or maybe he just kind of looks dopey and we can all point and laugh at his pointy back of his head. But Von Miller, of course, is a problem. And Von Miller and Ryan, people forget. People forget Ryan Tannehill and Von Miller and Randy Bullock, for that matter, were all teammates at Texas A&M. So this is somebody who Tannehill knows well, who Tannehill has played several times during his time in the AFC, and who is continuing to cause problems. Now, the Rams' offensive line, I thought the Titans' offensive line was fine. I don't think they'll look nearly as good at Buffalo. But I thought the Rams' offensive line was decisively bad in the NFL season opener at SoFi Stadium, where the Bills went in there and just pushed them around, both physically, mentally, explosive plays down the field. It was not really a close contest. It was close for about the first half, and then Buffalo started to pull away. But Von Miller and that pass rush were able to get to Matt Stafford 7 times, and they did not blitz once. There was just four-man pressure, and they brought him down consistently. They made him make bad decisions. He threw interceptions. Like, it was not a well-orchestrated game for the defending Super Bowl champions. Now, I think the Titans will have a good plan. I thought they had a good protection plan for the Ravens. I thought Nicholas Petit-Frere played really, really well. I was excited to watch that back and to see, to make sure that I was actually seeing what it is that I thought I saw the first watch through, which is somebody who played well. He had a false start, but for a rookie in his first NFL, real NFL experience against that kind of defense, I thought he held up exceptionally well. The thing that I think poses the biggest challenge, of course, though, is, it is Josh Allen. He is the destroyer of worlds. He is probably the most talented quarterback in the NFL right now, and that includes guys like Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. So we asked Jeff about that today, or rather, Teron Davenport asked Jeff about that today. And here was the big fella who's going to be tasked with stopping him, and successfully did on 4th and 1 last year.
I think you have to just, all of a sudden just change how you rush. I think you have to be more just cautious because, guys like Josh Allen, like I said earlier, he wants to get outside of the pocket to his right. Because, everyone sees it. When he get outside of the pocket to his right, he make plays. He make plays downfield, and that's how he want to play the game. He want to get outside, look for receiver downfield, which he have a great receiver as it is. Them guys been playing him so long, so they know I see him rolling. This time I'm going to get the ball. So I think that's our challenge this week is to constrict that pocket, assault the middle of the pocket, make our edge guys, kind of easy for them if they doing, rushing the way they rush and we get into his face. We disrupting his time up and throwing and we making them lanes where he can't get outside of the pocket constricted. I think we'll have a good day.
So that's Jeff talking about Josh Allen. And, Jeff did exactly what Big Jeff does. He got into the interior of the pocket against the Giants. He had 6 total pressures, 2 sacks, 4 hurries. He was very active. He was active in the run defense. He was forcing fumbles. Like Jeff did it all, a lot of it, rather, against New York. Now, you remember the Greg Cosell clip we played for you yesterday where Greg said of Jeffrey, well, he was a monster, which is a good thing because they didn't really get a lot of pressure off the edge. And you would look around and say, well, Rashad Weaver had 2 sacks. What's he talking about? And Bud Dupree had a fumble recovery and had a sack as well, I believe, maybe a sack and a half. What's Greg talking about? Well, look at Jeff. Look at the pressure Jeff creates by pushing the interior of the pocket, causes the quarterback to move right or left, easier for the edge guys to clean up a sack. So while they do get credit for the sack, the pressure itself is caused by Jeff, Danico, Tier, Tart, whomever, Kevin Strong, getting good push on the inside of, in this past case, the Giants' offensive line. Be more difficult to do against the Bills. They're a better unit. I don't think their tackles are. I thought the Giants' tackles, actually, Evan Neal and Andrew Thomas, I thought they played pretty well on Sunday. But the interior offensive line for New York was not up to the task. Roger Saffold, who is, Saffold is built like real life Superman. He's bigger than real life Superman. He is a very, very powerful man. And while he is getting up there in age and he may not be at the peak of his powers at this stage in his career, he still was absolutely mowing Los Angeles Rams down last week in the run game, which is exactly what he was brought in to do, to improve their run game. Now, this is a Titans defense that just gave up 238 rushing yards to a very talented Saquon Barkley, but they're going to have to be more locked up. It's a tough task. You're not going to stop the Bills on offense, but certainly you can do your best to contain them, even if it comes down to a 4th and 1 stop, the way that it did for Jeff Simmons and Josh Allen last year. Darren Ossie says, we can't get cute on play calling, need to go to our bread and butter and what works for us, pound the rock and play good defense. I get so sick of the pound the rock thing. It's not 1975. I think I said that last week. And, they play like it is. They play like it is. They play like maybe not the 70s. They play like 80s style of football, which is not to say that 80s was any better than 70s, but like establish the run is not a thing at this point, other than the Tennessee Titans, because they run Derek on first down that way. And so you can establish the run all you want, when in reality, you need to pass the ball early. You need to use Derrick Henry to close out these games. You need to run Derrick Henry on short yardage. You need fundamental execution. You need more explosive plays in the pass games. AE says, media always writes the Titans off. Well, yeah, but they deserve it. I mean, yeah, they always write, of course. Why wouldn't we? And I'm local, so like I cover it every day. So it's not that deep, but yeah, they should write the Titans off. The Titans have no business going into Buffalo as 10-point underdogs and winning. But will they? Yeah, there's a good precedent for them doing stuff like that all the time, what makes preseason predictions and pregame predictions so dumb, because you have no idea what's going to happen in a football game. And a 10-point underdog in the NFL is not the same as a 10-point underdog in college football, for example. So yeah, the media always writes the Titans off. They deserve to be written off. The only thing that keeps people paying attention to the Titans is that they consistently find ways to upset better opponents. And certainly Monday will be no different case. We will see how that result goes. But Josh Allen is going to be a bear. Jeff Simmons has to be a bigger bear. I think Mark Sanchez called him a bear on the broadcast, a grizzly bear, on Sunday while he was wrestling Daniel Jones to the ground. And certainly it is going to be a wild environment. The defense is going to need to help silence that crowd. We will get into Thursday Night Football as we get closer to halftime between the Chiefs and the Chargers. The question I want to ask you is simply who you got in the second half. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Well, I tell you that, or while you tell me that, I'll tell you about Superbook Sports, where you can bet the Chiefs and the Chargers, where you can bet the Titans and the Bills, where you can bet all of Week 2's Sunday slate, and so much more. You can wager on every major sport in the Superbook Sports app. It's clean, it's easy to use, it makes it efficient if you're an Android user or an iPhone person. Superbook Sports is the place that you go. They will match your first bet up to $1,000, whether the bet wins or loses. They are there to help you make money and put you in a position to succeed. Superbook Sports is the best possible sports gaming app. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. Chargers, says Jonathan Hernandez. Derek R agrees because that's who he bet on. Tony Trejo says the Chargers as well, as we roll into the halftime show on Amazon. It looks like the Missouri Tigers marching band is doing the halftime at Kansas City, which is kind of fun. Give it a little college flair. Arrowhead's such a cool stadium. I'm excited to go back. But as you look at this game, and who are you more closely paying attention to at this point, man, like I said, I think Super Bowl predictions are dumb. I think nobody knows who's going to play in the final game until they actually get there. But I really, really like the Chargers. I've lived this life with the Chargers before. There have been Phillip Rivers teams that I've loved and I thought should have done better. Justin Herbert is incredible, as is Patrick Mahomes, and they both play in a vicious division. But I really and truly enjoy watching the way that the Chargers go about it. Their defense is special. They've got so much speed, so much versatility that they can use to confuse and disrupt defenses. Khalil Mack has only made them better. Of course, I think that when I look at the Chargers, I'm vastly more interested in what they are. I've seen the Chiefs live a bunch of times. I've seen Patrick Mahomes do incredible things. I certainly don't take him for granted. But I think as I look ahead at this, that Justin Herbert has a lot more to show us yet. And hopefully this keeps it as a spectacular rivalry between these two AFC West teams into the future. Jonathan Hernandez says, I'm tired of hearing about Mahomes. I'll take Herbert. Well, you can take Herbert as you like. Herbert is special, says Carlos Brown. He is an uber talented player at the position. Major Keys is watching the Amazon halftime show and says Ryan Fitzpatrick got fat. I don't think so. I mean, listen, if the media setup is for Amazon is anything like the press box setup that we have at games, then yeah, Ryan Fitzpatrick probably eating pretty good at this point, and good on him. He earned it. AE, oh God, what do you like? I don't want to have a continued conversation about the media. I don't care. Why do you care? It's just not that deep. He says media does not write the Colts off. Why do they not get written off, but the Titans do? I don't know, man. Like it's just something that's going to have to drive you crazy, and it's going to continue to happen, and you're going to have to eat it. Like I don't have a good explanation other than the Colts are more visible. There's more coverage of the Colts. The Colts operate with higher. I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. The Colts have a bigger fan base. Now, part of that's because of Peyton Manning, and one of the most recognizable stars in NFL history. So, like, there is a more national component. Sorry, I just pulled my whole setup down. Whoops, my earpiece came out. So yeah, the Colts are a national fan base to an extent, more so than the Titans. Because they had Peyton Manning and Peyton's and Buick commercials and Papa John's commercials and every other commercial under the sun out here trying to sell you stuff in ways that he did for 20 years. Still does it, right? So, I mean, it is what it is. You just got to get over it, I think, at this point. Jonathan Hernandez says, Buck, do you think they'll let Burks off the leash on Monday Night Football? I think that the answer that Mike Vrabel gave today about like feeding guys targets to try and get them going, and basically what he said was, yeah, we're not really looking to do that. We're not looking to force feed guys in certain instances. We're looking for everybody to execute, and then we'll run our offense the way that we want to run our offense. So like if he does have a big statistical game, it won't be because it won't need to be because they are, or it won't be because they have set out with the intention to do so. They'll find matchups they find favorable. Tannehill has to look his way. So if Burks goes crazy, that'll be one thing. But they're not going to go out of their way to do it, which is they're not going to go out of their way to do it. I guess is the larger point in this particular situation. Somebody, Donald Page, their Titans team photographer, just texted me 2:20 before Buck as he does a Peloton in his basement. Let's laugh out loud funny. Well, joke's on him because I'm 218. He's got to get to 218. It's too late. 200 by Super Bowl. Don's got to have a recognition of this. Anyway, so I would say that as far as the Chargers and the Chiefs go, here's what I'll tell you that's really interesting about the Chargers to me, and I'll do that momentarily, right after I tell you about the people who want to get you the intel edge. I'm going to give you some Chargers intel momentarily, but I will also tell you that the best place for real estate intel is the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. GaryAshton.com has you covered with the best properties and the best information in Middle Tennessee. They will go above and beyond to make sure that you get your dream address, that you sell your home for more in this red-hot Nashville real estate market. They'll make sure you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. GaryAshton.com is how you get involved with the official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators. The Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, GaryAshton.com is where you go. So the thing that makes the Chargers so enticing to me, Herbert on a rookie deal. They went out of their way to surround him with talent. I really like their receiving core. Josh Palmer from Tennessee. Mike Williams has had a big game so far. They upgraded the defense. They got Mack as a counter to Bosa. They have done well to bring in J.C. Jackson, one of these Patriots cast-offs that they don't want to pay, and now who looks like Bill Belichick looks decidedly less genius without Tom Brady, making a terrible offense look much, much better than it should otherwise. I think all these different things about the Chargers, other than their division, I think that the division is the thing that keeps them from being, from coming out clean as like a clear and obvious Super Bowl favorite, because the Bills are right now. And by the way, the AFC East is not terribly easy this year. I think Miami is going to give teams some fits, and the Bill Belichick will have one Belichickian game up his sleeve for each of these AFC East teams, and the Jets are largely miserable, so they don't matter in all of this. Rich Fisher says he regrets spending the $800 for tickets on Monday Night Football. So, Rich, be more specific for me. Was the ticket purchase in total $800, or was the trip $800 including the tickets? And I don't know how many tickets that you bought. Well, I mean, if you're going to regret it, like, I guess you spent the money already, so go, but I don't know. That seems kind of lame. Like, maybe they go up there and get their ass kicked, but you don't know. Like, that's the whole point of live sporting events. Now, personally, I don't go to live sporting events really that I'm not paid to go to, because it's not really, I prefer to watch things at home. I don't really need the environment of Neyland Stadium or Nissan Stadium if I was just going to casually watch a game. No, I'm perfectly content to watch it on my on the TV that I've got downstairs. It's plenty big enough. There's plenty of resources for me to sit and view a game comfortably. But for a lot of people, it's a cool experience. It's a unique experience. If you're going with your friends, it can be a cool road trip. If you're going with your family, it could be a memory that stays with you for a long time, good or bad. I think for the most part, to regret it before it happens, I don't know. I mean, that just seems. Oh, Rich says, I also went to the Jets game last year. Well, okay, Rich, this is just on you. You're clearly bad luck. Clearly bad luck at this point. Jackie Hulbert says, go get drunk and go through a table with a Bills fan. Yeah, unity. You can hold hands as you jump from the tree through the card table. Anyway, I'm going to the Texans game in Houston just to wave at Buck and Vrabel. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. There's a funny video of Vrabel going around where I think he's talking to a kid where he's saying, say tighten up. Say it. And they put it on their TikTok and it just says, say it. Made me laugh. Anyway, that's how these things go. Dominic Jones says, unity. Yeah. I think of it in the Dave Chappelle. I'm blanking on Rick James, the Dave Chappelle, Rick James skit where he's got the unity ring and he hits Charlie Murphy in the head and he says, unity. That's how I say unity. That's how I think, or at least when I see the word unity, that's the way that it sounds in my head. Too much information. Anyway, who you got on Thursday Night Football, Chargers or the Chiefs? I will take the Chargers just for the sake of interest. And also, I'm pretty sure I saw on Amazon's broadcast tonight that he's 4-0 in Arrowhead, which is kind of crazy to me. That's a sneaky underrated stat. And he's outplaying Mahomes right now so far through the first half. Kickoff is about to get underway, so let's do a weekend bounce back and keep it moving. Who needs to bounce back most in sports? The Titans would be a pretty good nominee if you would like to select them. Who needs to bounce back? Let me know at Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Twitch as we wrap up the primetime broadcast together. While you give us your bounce back candidate, I will tell you about TrueMav Fitness, where you can go to bounce back as a part of your renewed fitness journey. It's a new way to work out with an incredibly fun and interactive class setting. The workouts that they program for you each and every day, they are not going to be repeated. They're not going to be recycled. They are done intentionally to make sure that your body is continually having to adapt to a workout regimen that is easy. Well, not easy, but it is good for people of any fitness level. So if you're not like you see these crazy boot camp classes and you're looking at that and saying, well, I'm not in shape to do that. Well, one, you have to go the first time before you can start to work yourself into shape to be able to do that comfortably. And two, they design it to make sure that they can accommodate every fitness level within the kind of 45-minute boot camp style classes that they are setting up for you. Membership for unlimited classes and the open gym is $160 a month. It's a really, really great package. You can get classes for any level of fitness experience, as I mentioned, and it's located perfectly downtown in the Gulch, right there by, I think, Peg Leg Porker's over there. Uncommon James for the ladies. If you're doing some jewelry shopping, maybe you go work out, maybe you pick up some jewelry for your lady on the way home. It's a great setup. TrueMathFitness.com. Okay, so who needs to bounce back in sports this week? Taylor Lewan needs to bounce back, says B French. Yeah, I didn't think Taylor played very well at all. There were a couple of bad snaps, at least, that I noticed. Like the highlight that number 48 for the Giants got on Derrick Henry. When he comes and just cleans Derrick Henry from the side, it's rare that you see Derrick decleated, like leave his feet. And Derrick did. He got popped. Lewan whiffed on the block on that. The 3rd and 1 Chig end around. That could have gone for a first down had Lewan executed the block properly. Some got beat a couple times in pass protection. I was not overwhelmingly impressed with Taylor's performance. And this was something I talked to Taylor after the game about. I think he's well aware. But for all the different elements of this that you look at and say, okay, who needs to bounce back? You're certainly going to need him in pass protection, because if he's not at his best, that offensive line is certainly going to feel for it. Bulletproof Randy, says Jonathan Hernandez. They need Randy Bullock to bounce back. Texas A&M, don't go to a midnight yell this weekend before they play Miami. Yes, completely and totally embarrassing. But I think the bounce back candidate for me is going to come by way of a very, very interesting video. The Broncos need to bounce back. Nathaniel Hackett had a terrible debut. That coaching staff had a terrible debut. Russell Wilson lost his return to Seattle in dramatic fashion, and Brandon Merriman went off on the Broncos in this clip.
Huge game tonight. Let's dig right in. Both teams loaded. For LA, this squad is finally balanced and stable. You were on some special Chargers teams. I know that it's early, but do you think this squad has the qualities that compare to some of those, like your 06 squad?
No, absolutely. And I say it all the time. And one thing I used to hate as a player is to get compared to like someone who did it before me, because I know those guys in the locker room, they're a new team. It's a new era. But if you look across the board and how this team is built now, they're very close to how we were, right? You got two outside linebackers who can pass rush really well. You got cornerbacks and DBs. So across the board, these guys look very similar. I know the game has changed and things like that, but let me tell you, a guy like Justin Herbert only comes around every 10 or 15 years. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I think that not only us former Chargers, but Charger fans are feeling confident because of Justin Herbert and what he can bring to the table.
Producer Reed is cackling at me in the background because I played the wrong clip. The Broncos need to bounce back, and I hit the wrong button.
Hey, Broncos country, let's ride.
Broncos country, let's ride.
Broncos country, let's ride.
Hey, Broncos country, let's ride.
Broncos country, what's up? This is Emmanuel Sanders. Let's ride.
Let's ride.
Let's go!
Let's ride.
Broncos country.
Let's ride.
Broncos country.
Let's ride!
Woo!
Broncos country, let's ride. That was the one. That was the one. Yeah.
Oh, no, Nathaniel Hackett, you were so excited. You were so bright-eyed, and then you decided to kick a field goal from 64 yards out with a $260 million quarterback sitting on the sidelines on 4th and 5 to win it. Yeah, the Broncos country, let's ride into a bounce back because they need one desperately. It's going to do it for us this week on the Primetime Show. Radio show, jam-packed and loaded. Kyle Phillips, Titans wide receiver. Coach Dave McGinnis at Titans Radio. David Ubben, who covers the SEC for The Athletic, and a big weekend coming up in college football as well. Make sure you're on with us from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. When next we talk, it will be in Buffalo on Sunday night. Remember, no Monday primetime because of the game itself, but we will have a brief Titan game day morning as well. Have a great weekend, and I will see you Sunday night from Buffalo, New York.
All right, we haven't scored a point since I came in here. I am gone, guys.
What? That's it?
We got a couple more questions.
No, that's it. Peace out by the GM.